Let's jump right into this explainer because we're looking at something pretty wild today. We've got this source material that literally calls itself Happy Morning Jazz. Now, you'd probably expect, some soothing saxophones, maybe a chill coffeehouse vibe, but actually, scratch that. When we dive into the text itself, what we find is a super rigid, relentless sequence of digital nursery rhymes. So instead of free-flowing musical improv, we are looking at a highly engineered pattern recognition framework. We're going to break down exactly how this text operates, not as music, but as a total system.
To make sense of all this, here's our game plan. We'll look at the mathematics of consequence, how the finger family is categorized, vehicles of animal identification, and finally, the sheer power of repetition.
Okay, kicking things off with Section 1, the mathematics of consequence.
So if there's a magic number here, it's absolutely the number 5. I mean it. 5 is the ultimate anchor for literally everything that happens in this text. We're not dealing with random amounts here. It's always exactly 5 little monkeys, 5 little ducks, 5 family fingers, and, yep, even 5 water balloons later on. It sets up this perfect baseline of order right before the chaos, or, the counting down, actually begins.
And that sets up a really strict mathematical progression. It's like a loop. First, you get the action, monkeys jumping on a bed. Bam, that immediately leads to a consequence. Someone falls and bumps their head. That triggers the response phase, calling the doctor, which gets us the warning. And this entire cycle exists for one single mathematical purpose, to logically subtract one monkey from the total and just repeat the whole thing until we hit absolute zero.
Now think about the doctor for a second. He's not just hanging out in the background. His recurring, super stern intervention is the literal narrative mechanism that forces the subtraction to happen. His prescription, no more monkeys, is the undeniable rule that yanks a monkey out of the equation and drives the whole countdown forward.
And we actually see this exact math framework pop up again, just with a slightly different flavor. When we compare those 5 monkeys to the 5 little ducks, we're basically looking at 2 different types of consequences. On one side, the monkeys are dealing with, pretty serious medical emergencies. On the other side, the ducks are just dealing with outright disappearance over a hill. But structurally, they're identical. Both narratives use a parent figure, mama monkey or mother duck, and both only resolve when that count hits 0, which magically prompts all 5 subjects to come back.
Moving right along, let's jump into Section 2, categorizing the finger family.
You've probably heard this a million times. Where are you? Here I am, how do you do? It's a really simple spatial question, right? But here, it is the absolute engine driving the introduction of every single family archetype. Asking where are you demands an immediate location and presence. It literally forces the text to systematically roll out daddy, mommy, brother, sister, and baby. It's this perfect call and response loop that makes sure no one gets left out of the structure.
And just look at how organized this is. The transcript systematically maps these traditional family roles not just to fingers, but to primary and secondary colors, basically locking them into very specific environmental themes. So daddy is blue, tied to the sky and the sea. Mommy is yellow for the sun. Brother gets green for trees, sister is pink for cotton candy and flowers, and the baby is red, like a bright apple. To put that into perspective, it's not just a rhyme. It's a highly organized associative learning model, completely disguised as a catchy tune.
All right, let's shift gears and dive into Section 3, Vehicles of Animal Identification.
So first up, we hop on the happy train. And through this highly repetitive knock-knock game, the choo-choo train sequence methodically pairs adult animals with their offspring. We aren't just, pointing at a cow. We're actively learning the relationships. Where's the lamb? Where's the foal? Where's the duckling? The train acts as the vehicle, literally and figuratively, providing the momentum to move from one animal enclosure to the next, which keeps the listener totally locked in on finding those babies.
Then, the wheels on the bus takes over the narrative. But instead of the usual townspeople bouncing up and down, the text loads this bus up with animals and assigns strict auditory identifiers to each one. We've got cows mooing, pigs oinking, sheep going ba-ba. But then there's this wild curveball, a tiger that says roll. I mean, what? It totally breaks the conventional animal sound mold, injecting this little flash of unexpected quirkiness into a system that is otherwise incredibly predictable.
And that brings us to our final stop, Section 4, the power of repetition.
So what does this all mean when you put it together? Well, if you look at the breakdown of this massive, sprawling text, it's actually just these specific thematic pillars looped endlessly to generate massive volume. Subtraction and math take up about 30% of the weight, color and identity take another 30%, and animal identification takes the rest, with vehicles occasionally framing it all.
It's really not a single, linear story at all. It's like a giant box of modular Lego bricks.
Which brings us to the true formula at play here, the repetition engine. By constantly plugging numbers, colors, and sounds into these minor, looping narratives, like the monkeys or the finger family, the text maintains this unbreakable, almost hypnotic rhythm. It's absolutely not designed to surprise you. Instead, it's built to provide immense comfort and predictability through endless, systemic recycling.
So I want to leave you with this to chew on. When you strip away the bright colors and those catchy little tunes, you are left with a very distinct, highly engineered piece of code. Why is the sheer power of repetition, using these exact, rigid themes of subtraction, color, and sound, so relentlessly dominant in the media we consume every single day? It's a fascinating puzzle, and definitely something to think about the next time you find one of these tunes completely stuck in your head.